Alright, hey, welcome to No Construction. Last week, talked about my mom almost getting pancaked by a car. This week at Commissioner's Court, people talked about Williamson County Commissioner's Court being guilty on all charges against, against them, but on the behalf of immigrant detainees, uh, most of which consisted of cases of rape, not much medical care, if that at all. And they're bad whenever it's done, but I really think if it was Americans being in that situation, no one would care. I mean, in Mexico, an American crossed illegally. I don't remember if he was guilty of any crimes, but he was shown no quarter. He was treated worse than what their regular criminals are, regular as in Mexican nationals, you know. And if American goes over to Europe, it'll be the same deal. You have to work, maintain a job for 10 years in most, if not all, European countries before you can even apply for citizenship. Uh, Not to say that I support what immigrants are, how immigrants that are obeying the law and definitely try to make life better for themselves are treated. But what can anybody expect when fellow Americans, or even veterans, first responders are treated poorly as well? But that isn't looked at because typically those people are white in America. But still, it's bad, and Williamson County Commissioner's Court was found guilty on all charges of knowing and perpetuating, in some way, those situations. Um, I mean, yeah, Americans aren't treated any better. I know of a case of somebody going to jail and they had blood pressure issues, and they went almost 24 hours without their medication. And from what I read up about that medication, you cannot go cold turkey on that medication. That medication, if you go, what was, I think, was it propofol? I think that's what it is. Some blood pressure medication, and you go. There's a chance that you could die going cold turkey on it. Now you can wean yourself off and just have the blood pressure issue, but going complete stop on the medication could wind up in death. I know of a friend that went to the Wilco uh, jail, and he had his hands cut up and received no medical care whatsoever. Uh, and they told me stories about people being brought in with their bare feet. It's they're ripped from their families. You know, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, it's horrible all around. It doesn't make it any better that this happened to immigrants, but fellow Americans are treated poorly. Um, Veterans are treated poorly, and we can't even take care of ourselves. I mean, what do you expect to happen with immigrants? I mean the rape thing. I mean, there's no excuse for that. There's no call for it whatsoever. I mean, if the detention center can get the medications, get the medical care, Alright, but there's Americans, white Americans, in jail, were in jail, and received no medical care whatsoever when they needed it. It's, I mean, I don't tell you. Anyway, I don't remember precisely what I said last week, but this week, uh, I put down some real numbers for those California fires, which I'll go over while I'm talking about those. It should be uh, covered in my speech, but I'll go over those specifically because it's like, why are you talking about California? Well, so of course I didn't talk about anything on the current agenda because uh, the commissioners and judge do not care what citizens say. When they arrive at commissioners court uh, on the day it's being held, they've already made their decisions. It doesn't matter what citizens say, what data they show up with that is completely valid, 100% backed up by evidence. Their decision is their decision that they've made probably a week prior. So anyway, I've talked previously about the danger citizens are being put in due to this addiction local politicians have with senseless construction. Last October in Santa Rosa, California, over 2,400 homes turned to ash. It took most people 30 minutes to get out of the area. Just a subdivision, not to complete safety. When we get another tornado, 8-minute warning at best, and that's if the warning reaches people. 30 minutes plus to get out of the areas that have and are being built. Meaning, in best case scenario, it'll take 4 times longer to evacuate than a tornado to arrive. Fires follow a path, tornadoes make one. Developers don't put doorbells on those homes. A good chunk don't get a peephole. Some of those doors I'm afraid to knock on, in fear of knocking them down. Only contractors, builders, and God know how many more corners are cut. Still more is being built at the same lack of quality at an increasing pace. Somehow, as if by magic, THF is going to build housing affordably at no upfront cost. Like any good magician, uh, THF has yet, to my knowledge, explained how that feat is possible. I didn't read this part. Back cost is having to maintain those new roads, increasing workload on responders to schools. I can't take care of us. We've gone over that. All right, going dark here. Oh. All right, so with my thing typed out, I forgot to save it. Save the changes I made. So that's why the speech looks funny. It went right back to the way it was. So yeah, THF has yet to uh, reveal, to my knowledge, how a feat that they claim to be able to do is possible. Uh, you know, like I said before, places were herded into, uh, and what I said today was came across somebody that is a first responder, and they can no longer afford their home, and no one's helping them because of the construction. Therefore, raised taxes because Our tax bills need to be met. What our taxes pay for, those bills have to be met to the federal government, to the state, so on, so forth, all that happy stuff. So our taxes have to be raised to meet it. And part of that problem is our taxes go to paying construction companies in their rebates. And first responders can no longer afford the homes they live in. That's horrible. You know, there and you know, the county told me if you don't like the way things are going on, the wrongdoings, you can go ahead and move. Well, they should tell the first responders the same thing. If they don't like what's going on, go ahead and leave. You know, that junk behind the Georgetown Walmart, you know, it's not going to be filled with firefighters, policemen, what have you, EMS, because those are probably going to be starting around $300,000 a piece. Worse yet, most of which of that, of really any construction done in the county and probably the state as well, is paid for by citizen taxes. The not only the job, you know, just use little numbers. You know, say a construction company says, "All right, to do this project, I need $1." All right, so he does all the construction stuff that he signed up to do for that contract for $1, and then a large part of the equipment used, the uh, materials used, they get a tax rebate on. So they're essentially almost paid another $1. And that's all out of taxpayer money. So really, the way these subdivisions are being built and how they're being paid for, it's not even the person that owns the house. His house. I mean, I know his contract saying there is, but citizens paid for it. It's the citizens. So there's 530,000 of us thereabouts. So, you know, each citizen owns 530th, uh, 530,000th. 530,000. I don't know what's wrong with me. You know what I'm trying to say. 530,000. I've done on that one. Uh, uh, Citizens own that house. There's a small fraction. That might be, you know, not even a square inch, but still. Citizens' money paid for it. 530,000. There, I say that. I should say that 10 times fast. You know, but yeah, and so first responders can't afford the housing, and then therefore they can't afford to be responders. Death by taxes, and even more so because we're not going to have first responders of any kind. I mean, at the end of the day, they need to make enough money to pay the basic bills and live off of. And if they can't do that, they're not going to do that job. They're not going to live in the area. More built, the higher the taxes are going to be. I mean, there's the houses that are maybe 1,200. Granted, some of them are 12 or 2-story. So say they might be around 1,200 square feet. You know, they might have an acre and a half. $6,000 a year in taxes. Holy moly. You know, and So finish up is first responders can't afford the housing, and they're not going to say anything because that lovely thin blue line, blue walls, what have you, they're not going to cross it. They're not going to climb over it. You know, it, but the reason I kept bringing up California because that's where we're headed. It's proof that if fires do this, what do you think a tornado is going to do? I mean, a tornado comes through, destroys uh, 5,000 homes. That's $1 billion. It's probably more, but I'm considering the average house is $2,000 or $200,000. I think the cheapest ones are 155, 170, somewhere in there. You know, so there's a bunch that are also 300, $400,000. So being lazy, not doing the math, I think 200,000 is a good rough estimate, and that's not even including the lives lost. Because these people are expecting protection, and they don't have it. It doesn't exist. Well, anyway, I've gone on long enough. Thank you.